Hi there, it's teacher Lulu, and it's a nice day to learn a thing or two. In this video, we are going to discuss illustrating quadratic equations. But first, let us have our lesson objectives or targets. First, we are going to define a quadratic equation, then write a quadratic equation in standard form, and identify the coefficients of a quadratic equation. Shall we begin? So we are going to start with the definition of quadratic equation. The word quadratic comes from the word quadrate, which literally means square or rectangular. Similarly, one of the definitions of the term quadratic is a square, meaning to say, in an algebraic sense, the definition of something quadratic involves the square and no higher power of an unknown quantity but 2 or second degree. In other words, in order to identify whether an equation is quadratic or not, we just have to look at the highest exponent. And that highest exponent should be 2. In a formal definition, a quadratic equation in a single variable is any equation that can be written in the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, where a, b, and c are real numbers and a is not equal to 0. To understand this fully, let us have some examples. Let us have 8x equals 4. Is this a quadratic equation or not? As I've said a while ago, we just have to look at the highest exponent. Our unknown quantity here is x, and its exponent is 1. So if we cannot see any exponent, automatically, its exponent is 1. So therefore, the highest exponent here, or the degree of the equation here, is 1, making it not a quadratic equation. So what do we call this? This is actually a linear equation because of the degree 1. Okay, let's have one more. Let's have the equation 8x minus 2 is equal to x squared. So let's list down all the exponent. The exponent here is 1. Here it's 0 because it doesn't have any variable. And here it's 2. So therefore, the highest exponent is 2. The degree, therefore, is 2. Meaning to say, yes, it's a quadratic equation. Another one. Look at this equation. Let's have 2x multiplied by the quantity x minus 8 is equal to 16. At first glance, unang tingin, walang 2 na exponent. Ibig sabihin ba nun, hindi na siya quadratic? Okay, so hindi pa natin pwedeng masabi yun. We could simplify this, therefore. So we could simplify this by distributing 2x. So this will become 2x squared minus 8 times 2x is 16. X is equal to 16. Now we can look at the exponents. Here it's 2, here it's 1, and here it's 0. The highest exponent is 2. Therefore, the degree of this equation is 2, or the power is 2. Therefore, what can we conclude? Yes, it is a quadratic equation. Let's have more. Let's have x cubed plus x squared plus x equals 4. Is this a quadratic equation or not? You are correct. This is not a quadratic equation. Why? Yes, because of this exponent. We have the degree of 3 higher than 2, making it not a quadratic equation. Let's try one more. How about this? Square root of x plus 3 equals x. Is this a quadratic equation or not? Alright, it is not a quadratic equation. Why is it not? Correct, because of this term. We have square root of x, which is raised to 1/2. This is a radical equation. Okay, because of that square root of x. So, making it not quadratic equation. And then, how about this? So, unang tingin, hindi na naman quadratic kasi wala na namang exponent na 2. But, again, we can simplify this by cross-multiplying. So, we'll have x times x minus 2. Cross-multiply is a product of multiplication property of equality. Okay, and then equals 3 times 5. So, distributive property, we have x squared minus 2x is equal to 15. Then check if the resulting expressions have the highest degree of 2. So, here, the degree is 2, this one is 1, it is 0. So, the highest is 2. Therefore, yes, this is a quadratic equation. Okay? Okay, so if we could actually identify if an equation is quadratic or not, now we could actually have its standard form. The standard form of a quadratic equation is in the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So, ang una nating tatandaan, pag naka-standard form siya, ay dapat naka-isolate lahat sa isang side. At dapat yung isang side ay 0. And then one more thing about the standard form is that A, B, and C are all real numbers. So, pwede siyang maging fraction, pwede siyang maging radical, so square root of 2, square root of 3, whatever. Okay, as long as real numbers si A, B, at C. Si A, bawal siyang maging 0 kasi mawawala yung term na may x squared. Okay, so kilalanin muna natin yung mga coefficients niya. The first is yung A. Sabi ko kanina, bawal siya maging 0. Bakit? Because A is the quadratic coefficient. Meaning, siya yung kasama noong term na may squared or nung ini-square na term. Yan. Quadratic, quadrate, square. Okay, so kaya siya quadratic coefficient. Bawal siya maging 0 kasi magiging 0 times x squared. Mawawala si x squared. Hindi na siya quadratic. Okay? So, quadratic coefficient. Yung isa, yung next, is yung b. Si b naman, yung kasama ni x. 1 ang exponent. Correct. Meaning, siya yung linear coefficient. Okay? Kasama ni x. Tapos, the last one is c. Si c, siya yung tinatawag nating constant. Okay? In algebraic sense, may kasama siyang x, pero raised to 0. Okay, meaning, kasi pag yung number raised to 0, magiging 1. So, c times 1 is c. Ganun isulat yung mga constant. Okay? So, pwede na namang wala. Kaya siya naging c, naging constant. Okay? Siya yung walang kasamang variable. So, again, si a, yung kasama ni x squared. Si b, yung kasama ni x. Tapos si c, yung walang kasama. Okay, so that's our coefficients. A, kasama ni x squared. B, kasama ni x. Si C, yung walang variable na kasama. Okay, and then sa other side, pag standard form, 0 si other side. Okay, so let's try. Pag pinag-aralan natin or pag tinignan natin yung mga standard form ng equation or ng quadratic equation, hindi unique yung standard form niya. What do I mean by that? We have what we call equivalent equations. Okay, for example, let's have x squared plus x minus 1 equals 0. As you can see, this is already in standard form, right? Because the one side is 0 and it's arranged in such a way na yung exponents ko ay 2, 1, 0 or pababa na yung aking exponents. So, naka-standard form na siya. Okay, so let's identify. Dito, si A ko is 1. Tapos si B is 1. Tapos si C ay negative 1. Si A yung kasama ni x squared. Okay, nandiyan yan, 1. 1 times x squared is x squared. Tapos nandito naman, si 1 ulit, dx. Tapos si C yung constant, negative 1. Okay, as I was saying, hindi siya unique. What do I mean by that? Pwede ko kasing isulat to na i-multiply ko everything by 2, for example. Multiply both sides by 2. And of course, by multiplication property of equality, I can do that. If we multiply both sides by a real number or certain number, as long as both sides, okay, pwede yun. So, I could multiply both sides by 2, which will give me 2x squared plus 2x minus 2. Dinistribute po yun. Okay? Equals 2 times 0 is 0. Okay, this is also a standard form, but equivalent to the first one. Both are correct. Kasi wala namang nilabag na batas yung 2x squared plus 2x minus 2 equals 0 with the definition of the standard form. Okay? Pwede ko rin niyang i-multiply by negative 1. So, let's try to multiply negative 1. Why not? Okay? So, yung right side, parang wala sa kanyang nangyayari kasi we multiply by 0. Negative 1 times 0 is 0. Any number multiplied by 0 is 0. So, parang hindi siya nagbabago kasi maging equal to 0 pa rin. But in reality, we multiply both sides by the same number. Okay, so if we multiply this by negative 1, okay, we'll have negative x squared minus x plus 1 equals 0. Another standard form. May nilabag ba siyang batas? Sa standard form, wala. Okay, negative x squared minus x plus 1. So, magbabago yung values ni A, B, at C. Okay, kung mapapansin ninyo dito, magiging A is negative 1, B is negative 1, si C is positive 1. So, equivalent equation sila, but different coefficients. Okay, so let's have another example. Let's have, for example, this one. 4x squared minus 2x plus 2 equals 0. So if we are going to write an equivalent quadratic equation, most people would actually divide all of this by 2. Actually, that's still multiplication property of equality. You multiply all by 1/2, meaning to say divide all by 2. So we have 2x squared minus x plus 1 equals 0. Equivalent equations. Okay, so the first one will have a equals 4, b equals negative 2, c equals 2. But this equivalent will have a equals 2, b equals negative 1, c equals 1. If my standard form is 4x squared minus 2x plus 2 equals 0, it's correct. If I have it 2x squared minus x plus 1 equals 0, it's also correct. They are equivalent equations. Okay? But if you will identify the coefficients, you have to look at your standard form. If this is my standard form, this should be my coefficients. If this is my standard form, this should be my coefficients. Let's have more examples. Let's have 2x plus 5 equals 3x. Is this in standard form? No, it's not yet in standard form because of this. One side should be 0, and then everything should be in the other side. So, this one should be on the other side. Yung shortcut natin, ang sinasabi natin, transpose natin sa kabila or lipat natin sa kabila. Pero ang totoo nun, addition property of equality yun. We add negative 3x both sides. Okay? Pero para mas mabilis, transpose, lipat lang sa kabila, so magiging 2x squared. Positive si 3x doon, magiging negative 3x, then plus 5 equals 0. Standard form na. Okay, and then, what's our coefficients? We have a kasama ni x squared, so that's 2. B kasama ni x, negative 3. At si C, yung walang kasama, 5. Single yata si C, walang kasama. Alright? So, yun na yung standard form. Another one. Let's have 6x squared equals 9. So, again, not yet in standard form because isolated dapat yung lahat sa kabila. Okay, so yung 9, lipat natin sa kabila. So, magiging 6x squared. Kung positive siya dito, pag nilipat, magiging negative. Okay, equal 0 in standard form. Okay, kanina sabi ko, si A, bawal siya mag-0 kasi mawawala si x squared. Okay, lahat, si B at saka si C, pwede siyang maging 0. Nangyayari yun, or sa standard form, evident siya pag may missing term. As long as hindi si x squared yung missing term. So, ito, may meaning, ito, missing si x, di ba? Yung expression na may x. Therefore, yung coefficient niya, 0. Okay, si A is 6. Ang nawawala nating term ay si x. Ibig sabihin nun, B is 0. Tapos si C, of course, yung walang kasamang variable, is negative 9. Okay, standard form pa rin naman yan. Okay, missing lang uh, si linear term or yung kasama ni x. Okay? Si constant din, pwede siyang mawala. Walang constant term. So, ibig sabihin naman nun, c is 0. Okay? So, we have 6x squared minus 9 equals 0. A is 6, B is 0, C is negative 9. Let's have more. Paano naman pag ganito? Okay? So, we have 3 multiplied by the quantity x squared minus 2x plus 7 equals 5. So, isi-simplify lang natin. So, we simplify this by distributive property. So, we have 3 times x squared is 3x squared. Then, 3 times negative 2 is negative 6x. 3 times 7 is 21. O, huwag kalimutan, may equals 5 pa. Dahil naka-equate pa siya sa 5, hindi pa siya standard form. We have to isolate everything else here. So, magiging 3x squared minus 6x plus 21. So, positive 5 magiging negative 5 equals 0. And then, like terms yun, 21 minus 5 is 16 equals 0. So, our standard form is 3x squared minus 6x plus 16 equals 0. Let's identify A, yung kasama ni x squared. So, that's 3. B, kasama ni x, which is negative 6. Tapos si C, yung constant natin, which is 16. Alright? Alright. Okay. Let's have this. This is our last example for this video. Let's have x plus 4 multiplied by the binomial 2x minus 4. As you can see, hindi pa siya standard form. Pero at least, 0 na yung kabila. Okay? So, how do we simplify this? We can use the FOIL method. Okay? First times the first. So, we have 2x squared. Outer times outer. We have negative 4x. Inner times inner, we have 8x, and then 4 times negative 4 is negative 16. Huwag natin kakalimutan yung equal 0 sa standard form or any other form. Pag walang equal 0, hindi na siya equation. Okay? Common carelessness ng mga students. Okay, sinimplify ko lang yung negative 4x plus 8x. That's why I have positive 4x here. So, giving us 2x squared plus 4x minus 16. Yung sinasabi ko kanina, dapat equal 0. Okay? So, let's identify. We have A, kasama ni x squared, 2. B, kasama ni x, which is 4. C, yung constant. Or walang variable na kasama. So that's it. Our final answer is 2x squared plus 4x minus 16 equals 0 with the following coefficients. A is 2, B is 4, C is negative 16. And that concludes our lesson. Goodbye everyone! See you next class! Huwag niyo na rin kalimutang mag-subscribe.